Welcome to the virtual bourbon experience with Railbird Selects and Tastings, where a panel of expert enthusiasts, handpicked by the Railbird Music Festival, will taste and select another single barrel bourbon for Railbird's 2020 collection. I am your host, Drew Franklin from Kentucky Sports Radio, and in this particular tasting, we will be joined by Old Carter Whiskey Company, as Mark and Sherri Carter will walk us through the bourbon samples they've provided for us and tell us a little bit about the company. We're very excited to hear from them and learn more about Old Carter before we make the final pick in the end. But before we get to our special guest, I'll first introduce our other special guest. I see we have both Justins today, regulars here at the Railbird Tastings. Different places, though. Justin, it's good to see you.
Good to see you, Drew, like always.
What's going on, guys?
Unfortunately, our pro, David Helmers, could not join us tonight. So it looks like everyone else is a fresh face. I'll start with Brian Asplin, who works a little bit with David behind Railbird. Brian, you're with AC Entertainment, kind of make Railbird happen. And today, Railbird is asking that you drink with us on Zoom. Are you cut out for that?
Man, I got to take one for the team, you know?
Well, we're excited to have you here, and David's really missing out. This is going to be some good stuff tonight.
That's right.
And, I guess I'll just go in the order of who I'm looking at. I'll start with out of Louisville. We're excited to have Jamar Mack, founder of Kentucky's original black bourbon enthusiast. Jamar, that's a really cool organization you founded. Just tell us a little bit about its mission.
Yeah, so our actual motto is come for the bourbon, save for the community. And what we try to do is bridge the gap between the bourbon industry, bourbon brands, and African-American consumers.
Well, cool. Very neat thing. We're excited to have you here with us doing this here on Zoom. We also have Katie Garrett, owner of Old Hickory Whiskey Bar, way down in Pensacola, Florida. It looks like you're there now, and that looks like quite a collection behind you.
Thank you. Yeah, we have around 700 different whiskeys, so it's one of the biggest ones definitely down here in our area.
Yeah, we're used to seeing big collections here in Kentucky, but down there at the beach, is there a big bourbon crowd?
Yeah, there is. So Pensacola is pretty unique. We are actually a city and we have a beach. We're not just a beach town, so we definitely have the people willing to drink all the whiskey.
Well, hopefully we get to do this again in normal circumstances. We'll go down to Pensacola, pack everybody up, and we'll do it there because that looks
Sounds perfect. I love it.
We're also excited to have Jessica Adkins, who works with, I believe, actual bourbon barrels, but know plenty about tasting bourbon. Jessica, how are you?
Oh, is it up? Can you hear
There we
me?
go.
There we go.
All right. Sorry. Yes, I work with, unfortunately, empty spirits barrels. So,
But,
there's still some flavor. There's still flavor.
Too, I assume.
I used to work for Fred Minnick, so I've listened to a lot of tasting notes. Maybe I can remember some.
Awesome. Well, if you can just be like me, we just make things up because I don't know how to call most.
Everyone makes things up, for sure.
They're the pros. Someone else who knows a little bit about a good bourbon collection is Eric Kim. He can be found on his Scotch and Time Instagram page that has quite a following and some really cool pictures. But Eric, you do events and bunch of other stuff, right?
Yeah, am I muted or can you hear me?
No, you're here. You're good.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I've been collecting whiskey, both I drink all whiskey, Scotch, Japanese. I'm kind of one of the ones who really doesn't have a criteria. I drink a lot of bourbon as well. So I started doing a whiskey influencer series. So most of the invitees are all Instagrammers with high followings from all over the country. And I have a big event in Kentucky called Bourbon Time. And this year we're at a challenge. I'm still trying to work that out, but we had about 4 different countries represented, as well as about 15 different states in the U.S., all traveling to Kentucky to have an event that's quite a bit different than anything else out there. We hit all the distilleries and get a unique view, and we get to try some special bottles or some special barrels. So, that's one of the ways that I met Mark and Sherri, and we're family, and I'm happy to be here. So I'm excited. I was hoping the first barrel pick would be mine, but it's yours, and it's going to a good cause, so I'm happy to support.
We're glad to have you. Is that an Old Carter bottle behind you? Did you work in a special background here?
It's my very old Carter bottle in the background.
Oh, now you're showing off. Well, I think I've introduced all the tasters. That will leave us with the man and the woman of the hour, Mark and Sherri Carter from Old Carter Whiskey Company. Mark, we have a lot of bourbon to drink, so we won't stretch this out too long, but got a pretty fascinating story from transitioning to wine and working in other spirits. Give us a little bit about your background before we get going here.
Well, I was lucky enough to build a house many years ago, and it was too big, and ended up turning it into a bed and breakfast inn, which then became a hotel and a restaurant back in '87. And I loved wine, and we started actually buying lots and lots of wine, and got a grand award back in '98. And we also started making wine in '98 because we got tired of buying everybody else's wine. So we started making some wine. That went pretty well. And probably around, I had a really great friend, Nils Vinge, who was the first guy to make 100-point wine in America. And Nils was my winemaker, and he suggested I buy a winery in Napa, which I said I would as long as Nils was my partner. And he said, yeah, I'd like to be partners with you. So we bought a winery in 2006, and we struggled for a little while with trying to make ends meet at the winery. So we started looking for people to make wine for all around the country, and do a little custom crush, little bottle. If you get anybody out there still wants to make some wine, we still got some room there, so we can give a custom label for you. But so we did that, and for only one guy actually took me up on it though, and he was out here in Kentucky, and he had a little inn here called the Beaumont Inn. And so Dixon Dedman said he'd like to make some wine. We started talking about it for a while. And I said, well, I remember you guys used to make some bourbon. I said, maybe we should make bourbon instead. And so he said, we can do that. And I said, yeah, we can do anything we set our minds to. And so we started making a little brand called Kentucky Owl, and that took off really well. And we loved it. We met a lot of great people in Kentucky, and ended up selling that brand in 2017. And we didn't want to leave Kentucky, so we took some funds that we got from that sale, and we bought some barrels, and we started again with a brand called Old Carter Whiskey Company. I think that kind of brings us up to today.
That was the shortened version, but really is a fascinating story. I know your last bourbon was good because a lot of people talked about it, and I could never get my hands on it. So I'm excited to actually have a couple samples of your new product here. If I'm not mistaken, Justin Thompson, I believe in your magazine, I read a story that you might have written about the Carters. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, we had the pleasure of when they launched Kentucky Owl, talked to the Carters and Dixon, and eventually we took a cross-country trip out there to visit them. My wife had a hard time believing that our RV just happened to get stuck in Napa, and we had to prolong it for another week, but that did happen. So anyway, we're pretty good friends there with the Carters, and they if you ever get a chance to go out to Napa and see them, you should definitely do that. They're fantastic at making wine, fantastic at blending whiskey, just great spirits professionals.
We're going to keep talking about Old Carter as we go here, but we should at least be sniffing a little bit while we talk about it. I just want to go ahead and set us up for the tasting. I assume everyone has the 3 samples that we all sent around. In the past, we basically just put them numerically and then called them A, B, C, and D for the sake of conversation. So you should have 53, 75, and a 93. Is that what everyone has in front of them?
So I've made a Zoom rookie mistake, and I am not charging my laptop. So I need to walk away from the screen to get my charger really quickly.
That's all right.
All right, one
Go
second.
for
I'm
it.
so sorry.
Yeah, we'll just put those in order they are numerically and call them A, B, and C. Let's just get out in front of you. I guess while we're opening and pouring them, do you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about what these 3 are that you've provided?
I'm going to let Sherri actually talk about the barrels.
Sure. So it's really fun to be doing this with you guys, and I'm excited that all our buddies are here. So I just want to say that. But so we do a lot of blending, but last year we actually released 19 single barrels into the market after going through 50 samples, I think. And we're about to do the same thing again. We're just in the process of going down the line with those. So it's just something that we have also fallen in love with. We do love blending, but the most exciting thing about single barrels is finding that special barrel that actually has so much complexity, it could be a blend in itself. So that's what we really strive for. And all three of those samples that we've provided are from the same lot. So you will find similarities. So these are not, we don't play around with, we're not Four Roses. We don't do stuff with yeast. These are just selected barrels that we love. They're all Kentucky straight bourbon. And I don't have proofs on them, actually. So I apologize for that. So it'll be fun to find out what the proofs are. So that's not going to influence your decision at all, because I have no idea.
Yeah, we'll just have to guess.
I think most of this lot is coming in around like 115-ish.
118.
Yeah, between 115 and 120 we found. So if you averaged it on what we pulled last year, I think that would be a safe bet. And everything that we do is barrel strengths, including the single barrels. So what's nice about that is that you get all of the flavor that the barrel gives you. What's not so great about that is you get fewer bottles, because you don't add what we call Jesus units in the wine business. You don't put water and make it into wine. So anyway, so it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoy them.
Yeah, and I guess this is 7th, 8th. How many have we done this, Justin and Justin? A few of them?
8 maybe?
Yeah.
8.
We usually stick with just on the nose. We go right down the order, A, B, C, and just kind of as you're smelling it, kind of everyone speak about what's hitting you there.
Telling you, just nosing from afar, all these barrels smell fantastic. The whole room smells right now. I can't wait to get into them. Going
Justin Sloan, it looks like you finally went home and away from the nice setting of Justin's House of Bourbon. Thought you lived there.
well, just a little bit, man. I pretty much live there. I barely made it home in time. Sherri, I think it's, while we're nosing these, I think it's important to talk about maybe your label a little bit. So I know there's some things on this label that mean certain things to you guys. I noticed the horse, and can you tell us more about because you from my knowledge, you designed this label. This is your baby, as well as telling Mark what are the best blends, but also telling him which labels to put on his bottles, right, Mark?
Yeah.
So, thank you, Justin. Yes, that's a big part of what we do. And I want to clarify one thing as well. You're looking at the entire company. There are no departments. If somebody messages me on Instagram, I text, I'm answering back. I do all the design work and all the logistics for the bottles.
And all the correspondence.
As well as all of the package design. And most of the marketing stuff. Yeah. Mark is, we do all of the blending and all of the selections completely 100% together. And then he's in charge of construction right now. We're working on a building project here, as some of you know, in downtown Louisville. And so I'm very grateful for all of his expertise, and that's what he does. Show me your phone. Show me that.
So when I started building, it was many, many years ago. The first job I ever did, I sawed my thumb off. So I had like 1.5 thumbs. This is the best rating I can give any bourbon,
I'm glad he's over there and he's not cutting any more digits off. Good.
Been many, many years since that happened.
Knock on wood. Okay, so I knocked on wood. So anyway, but I do all the package design, and the significance of the horse on the label is actually a woodcut. I'm an artist, and it's a woodcut that I did 20 years ago, and actually probably
longer than that.
22 years ago.
I think I bought it 20 years ago.
And it was the first piece of artwork that Mark purchased from me. Can you grab it? It's actually right there.
Yeah. So Sherri did this beautiful little woodcut, and I fell in love with it.
So that's the original piece of art. And See how
Very-
fancy we are. It's not even framed here.
Very, very strong. I go, I love that piece of, I love the working horse. And I bought that from Sherri before I really even knew her very much. But
Yeah. We know each other now. And I need to have that, as a big part of our child. So, so there you go. But yeah,
You mentioned big things coming in Louisville. How's the timeline going on that?
Well, hopefully we'll be able to, about 2 more weeks, maybe we'll get a final on, we've got the floors in, some lights hanging. So I've got to finish heating and air and get an electrical inspection. And I think that's about it. We'll get a final. So I'd say a week to 2 weeks, we'll have at least the showroom ready to go. That'll be great.
That's exciting.
How do you all split your time between Napa and Louisville? That's not just right down the street.
well, pre-corona, we were back and forth about sometimes 3 times a month. We'd pop by for a couple of days. We do a lot of, we did a lot of winemaker dinners and different events around the country. And so if we were coming this way, we'd tag on days before or after to come and check on stuff or take care of business or whatever we needed. And so we landed here before the virus came along and had started some rye blending. And then we have the building. And so it just turned into, we don't know when we're going back to California.
Never go back.
Stuck here. So to our tasters, I guess we're just sniffers right now. Has anything stood out as we've kind of put our nose to these 3 so far?
A and C stick out to me. I think A is like, just from nose standpoint, it's very sweet, almost like a butterscotch bomb, and C is like real fruity. So those 2 right now are standing out to me.
I will say for me personally, each one definitely has a completely different nose on it. A has the sweeter nose. Sticking with what Justin said, the C definitely gives you more floral, while B doesn't have much on the nose, but I think the tongue was the most strongest on the front end.
How to drink these now?
Oh, I thought
Some of us are, Jessica.
wait, are we all supposed to be sniffing them at this point?
It's all whatever we want to do.
It's very hard to smell and not taste. So
Yeah,
I've
shove it if
been
you want.
drinking since we started this thing. So
I didn't know the rules. I'm ready.
No rules when it comes to drinking. I actually poured mine in my glasses almost an hour ago because I wanted to let them breathe when I first smelled them. Obviously, A had a really aggressive nose, but now that I've visited back to it, it's been about 45 minutes maybe, and it's definitely sweetened up.
Interesting.
I think A is my favorite nose.
Yes.
kind of lean a little towards C on the nose, but it's between C and A is very close. I'm not throwing out B. It's just if I had to, we're picking a single barrel. We don't get to take all of them home. I don't think we may. Eric, let's talk to Carter's about getting the rest of them. But the nose on B just seems a little fainter and a little less complex than A and C. But I'm ready to start actually tasting them and figuring out which one's good.
Well, I will say once you start tasting, for me, B has that almost daily drinker taste where you could almost give it to anyone who's not even necessarily a bourbon fan to drink, because there's no burn to it.
I kind of, when I look at single barrels, and when you buy whiskey and you select whiskey in general for single barrel picks, I like them to be a little bit more out of the box and different. So to me, C noses not like a typical whiskey. So it has aspects to the nose that just brings forward my curiosity, and doesn't smell like what I expect in a good way. So it's the one that A smells very tasty as well, but C kind of struck me as something that is unusual, and that drew my attention right away.
Well said.
I've tasted A, but it's the only one I've gone in for. I'm going to keep it moving.
Jessica, what's your favorite nose?
I think it's A. I keep going back to it. Like I'm like in love with the nose of this. I just want to hold it and caress it.
I just keep going back and forth between those two. I can't. One nose, I think it's C, and one nose it's A. But they're both fantastic in their own way. Are we gonna start drinking these, Drew?
I already jumped in. I saw
okay,
did, so whatever.
Well, how about you? This, for this being the 8th one, you have to come up with the tasting notes first. So you say.
Oh, no. Through the first 7, I just copied off other people. That's how I got through college. That's how I will continue to do this.
Fair enough.
I'll tell you what I get on C. Here we go.
There we go.
Little Starburst candy, a little fruity there. Is that a thing? Can I use that one?
Yeah, very good. Get really weird. You could say maybe a little burnt Starburst, a little melted Starburst, maybe.
I've never had burnt Starburst, so I couldn't put that together. That's why you're the pro. Jamar, did I see on your website you just did something cool with Old Carter raffle, I believe?
I mean, if no one has met these two, I have told people they are truly the most genuine people you will ever meet. Sherri just sends me a text message. She's like, "Oh, I saw that you raffled off one of your Kobe single barrels for charity." Actually, I'm lying. Sherri said, "I saw this. We'd love to have lunch with you." So I'm showing up, and now mind you, I actually meet them for lunch. I have a gift card for where we're eating. They tell me absolutely not. We'll pay for your food, which they don't even eat, which is just goes back to who they are. And then right before we leave, I'm kind of like, well, I'm glad to eat lunch, but what do we meet for? And she just pulls out a 12-year bourbon for us and is like, here, raffle it off.
Awesome.
All of the good whiskey comes from Sherri Carter's purse. Right there. I swear, the best whiskey I've ever had has been from her purse in bathrooms and shit.
Like Mary Poppins, the Mary Poppins of whiskey.
And so she drops off the bottle, says good luck, and then they go on about their way.
Awesome.
So Sherri, I like lunch. Can we go? I'll go get a bottle out of your purse and a free lunch anytime. Or actually, we got to go to Pensacola, but we have this Napa trip we all have to make together too.
I'm down for that. Absolutely.
Man, I'm so excited about all these things.
Making a lot of plans here, but first we still have to pick one of these 3 to represent Railbird in the collection. Not ready to eliminate anything, but does anyone have one that's really standing out or one they don't particularly care for? I doubt that's the case, but any hot takes out there?
Hearing me, I think we're going to stay out for a little bit, so, because if we say something, we'll probably influence you. But so I like where it's going with, if you like A or C with the nose, or what do you feel about the palate? We also love to make really well-balanced wines or well-balanced spirits. So it's always about good mouthfeel too when we taste. Those are the things that we look for. But I'm not going to suggest anything. I want to hear what you guys have to say. So,
well, I'll hop in with what I've kind of tasted through here. Like I said, I do think A and C, nose-wise, do stand out. I think A, to me, it was hotter than what I anticipated. It's definitely it's definitely a foolproof whiskey there. So good finish. It is a little hot. I have to agree with Jamar there on B, where B's is very well balanced, very approachable. It's not a super long finish, but the finish is there for sure. And then C to me right now is slightly ahead at the moment. I mean, I'll definitely go back and revisit these guys, but I went back and forth between A and C on the nose. I do think C has 2 or 3 things going on with it. So, I mean, sometimes it's kind of spicy. Sometimes it's kind of sweet. It is, I think, a little more complex than the other 3 at the moment. I do want to have settled down just a little bit and go back to them, but that's just kind of my thoughts at the moment on the 3.
was just texting Eric, so I didn't interrupt. Right before you said that, and I was like, "You're right about C. It's my favorite, but A has the better nose."
So I think like with A, it's they're all solid. B is the smoothest, easiest to drink, although that's not generally my preference. To me, A had a little bit of a little bit of tonicity. I get a little oak. I get the little hug on my tongue. What I liked about C is it was full of flavor, and of course the most complex out of the three. But I liked the fact that it was very full of flavor, yet it didn't have like uh, an oak type tannin. It had some tannins. It had lots of flavor, but it didn't stick to my tongue like A did. So and of course Sherri knows me pretty well. Like I'm into floral and complex, so she probably knew I was gonna like C from the get go. So that's my first choice. I think they're all good, but C is where I lean. But that's my personal flavor profile.
I would definitely say like what Eric said originally. When Kobe tries to do barrel picks, you want to try to do a profile that you'll enjoy, but isn't similar to something you can get on the shelf. So as I think from that perspective of like what you would want out of a single barrel, at least with C, you're getting some kind of nose to it. So you're getting body and complexity. So for me, C really gives you that complete bottle. Where A might have a better nose, B might have a better taste to it. C really gives you a full package for me personally.
Yeah, I think I would have to agree with that as well. I don't even know how many barrel selection I've participated in. I have done several for my bar, but when I pick, I'm doing the exact same thing that Jamar just mentioned, doing something that's a little different than what you can just pull off of the shelf. I like to pick things where they don't expect that to come out of that bottle. Otherwise, you would just purchase the regular. You wouldn't want the special one-off single barrel. So I don't have a lot of experience with Old Carter being here in Pensacola, even though I absolutely adore your brand and I think it's wonderful, everything that you're doing. So this is really exciting for me to be a part of this particular pick. So for me, I'm going with the same thing Jamar mentioned. C is just what's giving me a little bit of everything. And it did have my favorite finish out of all of them. I thought it had the most viscosity, and I liked the way it lingered a lot longer than per se like B. But if I had to do my 1, 2, 3, 1 being what I would pick, probably C, and then A and B.
I've got a question for Mark and Sherri. Did you guys come to a conclusion on one barrel that both of you picked as your favorite, or you guys kind of split?
We did not pick a favorite out of this.
We like all really.
Sure, yeah, no. But hey, this is crunch time.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what.
Here's the tasting.
But I take all the notes. So, although Mark's got a new system, that's pretty awesome. He's got a star system.
We got a little star system,
which I love.
Then
he has shorthand for all of his little things.
Yeah, just a couple initials like L, F, long finish.
Perfect. And so he tastes and I taste quietly, separately, and then we will take our notes and then we compare notes.
It's amazing
and go back through.
How many times we come up with the same tasting notes.
Sure.
And I think our goal with this, and this is very new to us. Remember, this is our very first time that we've done anything like this. We'll blend a bunch of stuff up, and then I will show up at a place with a lot of whiskey samples in my purse and say,
"Try this."
I mean, we just did that with the Justins a couple days ago. And
it's like Wednesday, Tuesday, whatever day it is, Monday.
That's how Sherri secretly makes friends. Like, how much do I have in my purse?
And we like friends.
Yeah, and we're friendly. And so we wanted to select 3 that we felt were different. That were very different.
Yeah.
So I would say for can I talk about them now?
Yeah.
Is that okay if I talk
I think
about them now?
everybody's pretty much.
All right. So I mean, I felt like that first A had the sweet, soft that you just want to cuddle, and the 75 B, I thought was a much more delicate and more. So if you were drinking that without flanking it, I think it might have a different impact.
Very pleasant.
I also feel like it falls more into the savory category than the sweet category, which is, it's a profile shift. So I wanted to make sure we had something that was kind of in that camp. And then C, I have just the word fruit with a huge exclamation point and an underline with it. And I think that one is very it's got a lot going on.
Complex.
So I also wasn't sure
long finish
on the intensity for your group. Like I didn't know what the group was gonna. Sometimes they would lean towards something that's sweeter and more roly-poly, as I like to say, or something very strange and savory and out of the box. So anyway, so that was kind of the thinking behind them. But we did leave a little bit to chance. So we had one that was a little too similar to the other. And we put all the numbers in a hat that we were working with, and I had one in mind that I wanted to pull, and I pulled that number out. It was totally like, I was like, okay, well, that's meant to be. So, and I'm not going to mention which one it was, but.
Can you give us a hint?
Oh.
Are you able to tell us the age of the bourbons we're drinking?
These are basically 13-year-old Kentucky straight bourbon.
Gosh.
Don't sleep on B. Yeah, for me, it's picking up a little bit, and I don't know. I mean, it's
to me, B and C are the similar of the two, or the three. B and C kind of fall somewhat in the same category. One's a little more complex or a little more robust than the other one, but the underlying foundation, I think, of B and C are very, very, very similar. 93 is kind of my favorite. C is my favorite, but not saying that I couldn't be talked into B or honestly A, but C to me just has I want bold, I want a little spice, but also the fruit and not so sweet, and then it just hits you in the right spice all the way through, and the nose, you add the nose in there, and it's kind of the nose pushes it a little more towards 93 than 75, I think, for me. But
yeah,
normally by now we're ready to eliminate one. It seems they're all still alive, at least with a couple of us.
I'm gonna go back to A now.
Yeah, Brian, were you about to say something? I got interrupt
I just went back to the 75B again too, and it was delicious once it's been sitting there for a minute. So
I was getting ready to say the same thing Brian was. Is like I just revisited B, nosing it, and it's so much sweeter now that it's sit here for probably half an hour, 45 minutes for me.
Yeah, I'm picking up a bacon note on it, especially on the nose.
That's that savory that Sherri was talking about. I get a little bit of like toasted caramel as well. It's very drinkable. I enjoy it, and like I said, it is the easiest drinker of the three. But to me, it just lacks a dimension that that the 93 has. So I'm done. You guys can keep talking.
Yeah.
I will say when I wrote my first initial tasting notes, C, I actually wrote ready for my second glass.
Yeah.
That's usually kind of.
We've all decided we're done. 10 minutes.
That's usually how I make my decisions, my gut feeling. It's always as I do my first taste, which one makes me want another one, then I go back, and if I still feel that same way, it's probably where I want to be.
What we do in the wine business, we taste all our wine when we're blending, and the one that's the glass that's the emptiest is the one we usually go with because
yeah.
That's what I was just gonna say. I always look at A, C, B, C.
Yeah.
Use my emptiest.
Yes. Well, one thing that I always find interesting in these processes, and I've gotten to watch all of these barrel picks now, is also taking into mind a lot of y'all on this call are professionals at this, but Railbird as a festival is offering these products up to people from all over the country completely different palates, with completely different experience with bourbon. And I think it's really wonderful to think about just the opportunity of different folks taking this and taking it home and getting an impression of a brand. So it's always fun for me to think about that too. Not that should change the way that we pick this, but it's just a different kind of. It's not just going to be on the shelves at Justin's House of Bourbon. It's also tied in with a festival that bringing in people from all over the country. So it's kind of fun to think about that as well. Or it's not just going to be in your bar down there, Katie, or off of a blog or anything like that. So I'm really excited. Any of these are just amazing. I think all of our fans are going to love them. So.
Yeah, I've had to do that in the past. It might not be your favorite, but which one's best for the Railbird collection? I know it seems we all have our own favorites here, but keep in mind this is for a wide group of people that'll be going out to.
Yeah, we JT and I spoke to almost everybody last year at the festival and tasting to them. And Brian, you were there for a lot of that. And it is a plethora of people who are going to be coming in and doing this. And it's funny that from all aspects of life, of area of the country, but they can still find something in one of these barrel picks that they like. And they're going to be happy with any of these three that we pick. None of them are gonna disappoint. But we have to choose one, Drew.
I think we know where we're going with. It's a kept secret at the moment, so.
I feel like we've all kind of expressed that we have one in mind. Is everyone ready to make a call here?
Drew, you want to explain how we do it?
Well, the last couple, we just held up a sign. You want to go that route, or how do you want to go about it, Justin? You're a regular too.
So you want to do 1, 2, 3? So it's like ABC. There we go.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. It worked.
There we go. Count us down, Drew.
So, in case you didn't catch that, ABC is going to be 1, 2, 3. When I count you down, you're going to hold up, whatever. No waiting to look around and see everybody else.
Mark, I'm watching you all too. You all got to put your numbers up.
Yep. We're all good?
Oh, shit. Do we need to write it down?
No,
you
you
can hold up our fingers.
We're doing like the number, the letter.
Yeah, I'm not doing 2. I'm just showing you. Just give us
All
one.
right. I'm ready.
Wait. 1, 2, or 3, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, we made it confusing with the ABC. That was probably
First time.
All right, I'm going to count us down from 3. Everybody ready to show your hands?
Mm-hmm.
3, 2, 1.
Universal. We're done.
You could never have a more consensus than that.
That's the first time this has ever happened on this.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
First time.
It rarely ever happens when I pick barrels too. We normally have a bunch of our staff in and we're everywhere and it's talking.
Yeah.
It's only ever happened once to me ever that we all pick the same thing. So
I've got my glass right now. Oh, maybe it's gone.
Guys, pick 3 too.
Yeah. I definitely think it's a special barrel. I mean, a lot going on. I think everyone's analysis on it was spot on, complex, was up there on the nose, great finish. I mean, this is just going to be a real special barrel. Thanks, Mark and Sherri, for, letting us taste through all these great samples. But I think number 3 here is going to be a special one.
Yeah, I'd like to personally thank Mark and Sherri for this is special for us and being your family to me and to almost it seems like everybody on this call, but to be able to do the first one, it's an honor and thank you guys for joining us.
Our pleasure.
And just for the record, we didn't pick a barrel. We didn't pick a favorite.
Oh gosh.
Which one did you pull out of the hat? Which one was that?
Like them all for different reasons.
Yeah.
And the other 2, they may, we're not done picking yet, but they may end up in our barrel program this fall. So we'll see.
they should. They're great.
Well, you'll need to let us know so we can buy a bottle of that,
Mm-hmm.
They're all delicious.
It sure is a wonderful group we've got here tonight, and couldn't be more tickled to be able to share this with with all of you guys.
True
And-
professionals, and I love you all because you guys have great palettes.
Yeah. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Love you guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Appreciate it, team. Thanks to everybody who joined us. It's a fun one. Should I do
I'm
this
gonna go-
again?
I'm going to go
Thank
finish
you.
the other samples now that I finished my C and just make this a night. Mark and Sherri,
Yeah.
nice to meet you all. Thanks for
Likewise.
joining us.
Thank you all.
Pleasure and privilege. Thank you.
All right, good seeing everybody.
Everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a good one. Bye.
Cheers, guys.
Have a good one. Cheers, guys.